What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 15 of Big Time Reality TV. My name is Andrew Kirk, and you can find me on Twitter at CCUA Kirk. Always check out the blog. I'm working on a post right now, bigtimerealitytv.blogspot.com, and today got another special guest from season 30 of Real World Skeletons. You can find him on Twitter at Bruno Real World. Bruno Betancourt, how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing great. It's glad to have you on. Did you have a nice holiday?
Yeah, it was great. Ate presents, couldn't ask for more. Healthy.
Yeah. Right on. So I want to let you guys know who are watching, you guys can use the hashtag on Twitter, AskBrunoMTV, for questions. So first thing I want to know is, I'll ask all my guests this, what made you try out for the real world?
The reason I tried out for the real world, I was happy with my life and where I was going, but I just wanted like a little change. I wanted to do something that was like really out of my character and out of my comfort zone. So I said, screw it, why not? Like I just gave it a shot, and I just kept making it past each little test basically, and they loved me, so I just continued with it, and it was more of a thing to see if I could even make it, and I did, and I just progressed through everything, and I'm glad I did make the decision to go through with it.
Hmm. Were you a fan of the show before trying out?
Yeah, I've always watched some of the episodes. Like I definitely watched Explosion. I watched a couple episodes of that, and I watched Paris as well. I've watched a few.
Harry's going old school there.
Yeah.
Like 2003. I don't even think I was watching it back as far as back then. I was a challenge before the real world. But anyways, um, so you got on, and one of the things that I remember had one of the guys from Explosion on last year, and he told me he had advice for season 30. Look at the questions they had. When you find out when you had the audition questions, did you have any hint of like idea of what the twist was going to be?
No, I mean we had no idea at all. I mean, obviously watching the real world, I seen the last season, which was Explosion. So I don't know if they're gonna throw a twist. Like I had no idea. I mean, it's real world; they could do anything. So we kind of hinted at that something could have been possible. Like we were thinking X's. I thought it was my ex that was gonna come out, but did we know it was gonna be skeletons? No, we actually had no idea. They never really asked anything about it. The questions they did ask, I feel like they were just trying to get deeper into your life and your personality and trying to figure out things about you, like if you had fallen off with somebody. So I mean, we had no idea. They were really like they went really well about it.
Hmm. And so when you found out it was going to be in Chicago, how did you feel about that? Have you been to Chi-Town before?
No, I've only been like to the Chicago O'Hare International, just flew through. But I mean, I was excited. I heard Chicago's like a beautiful city. I mean, it's a lot bigger compared to where I'm from, and I was excited to go be somewhere else and just live somewhere else and new with different people. Not many people get to experience it, and it was exciting.
Hmm. Yeah, my co-host from the one that I had with me last week is actually from Chicago, and I told her you should have tried to spot the cast. You should have tried to spot the cast, but I guess she was too busy because I told you I'm from California, and I really wanted to go see San Francisco last year, but I was so busy with school and work, so I never had the time.
Uh,
Yeah.
Eventually, you will, hopefully.
What's that?
Eventually, in the future, you will, hopefully. You just got to travel.
Oh yeah, definitely. So going into Chicago, meeting your roommates one by one, I'll go down the line one by one. What was your first impression of each of them? Let's start with I want to ask you about the guys in particular. The guys as a group. Were you guys throughout the whole time very tight? You, Bruno, and you, Tony, and Jason.
Yeah, I mean, we were always pretty much close. I mean, we're guys, what I mean? I'm very bro code, so, it's not hard to bond with guys, especially, it just depends on what your level of maturity is. We're all older, so, we're all pretty logical, I'd like to think, Um, I've always been more like friends with guys, I always had a girlfriend for the most part of my life, so it's like I've always had my boys, like my friends, so, I get along better with guys as friends. Like living with females was a whole different, universe to me.
I bet. I bet. So let's start out with Jason. What was your first impression of meeting Jason?
Jason was cool, you know. He had that southern hospitality. Like him and I clicked right away. You know, it seemed like he was into fitness, like I was, and you know, we just clicked, instantly clicked, and like you could see that from the first episodes. Him and Nicole and I, like we clicked right away. And like Tony, you know, not trying to like cut him out, but like Tony and I obviously clicked. We're guys, you know what I mean? Same taste in things.
Hmm. It seems like so far, and we'll definitely get into it. It seems like Tony is off in his own little world. Not like that's a bad thing, but
I mean, it looks more like that because, you know, he's obviously fencing Madison, so it may seem like that, you know, but people
yeah.
have, people have to remember there's more than shown. You know what I mean? People only seeing what's being shown. There's obviously a lot more to see, so people are only judging things off what they see.
Hmm. So yeah, you talked about it, but go more into what was your first impression of meeting Louisiana boy Tony?
Tony, I mean, tall, you know, good-looking guy, you know, seemed like a ladies' got the man. You know, also Southern guy. You know, he's had good mannerisms, friendly, very friendly. Like he's like the really even chill guy. You know, just wants to have fun, party. You know, he was the drinker. He's big time drinker. Like he'll wake up. We used to joke about it. Wake up, have a cigarette and a beer, and then at lunch have another cigarette and beer. Like that's you know what I mean. You know, just likes to party, have fun. You know, he's single, young guy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It definitely seems like he has some fun, and
No,
he
definitely.
the dude favorites and retweets everything I tweet about the railroad. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. We all try to like keep up with like our fans or the people that show us love. Like I know I myself too. It's like a little bit overwhelming, but like whatever I see, like I'll like or try to retweet as well. Like I know like I see all their stuff too as well. I don't really sit in the feed, whatever. Like I'm pretty new to Twitter too. Like I made it shortly after the season was over. So
Hmm. Speaking of favorite, somebody you know very well just favored the tweet
who?
your skeleton, which we'll talk about in a bit, Mr. Bria. Did I say that? Did I say that right? Is it Bria or
Right,
Bria? Yeah,
right.
yeah. So let's move on to the girls. What was your first impression meeting the one that they always have to put subtitles around, and I hope they continue this, Nicole.
Nicole, Nicole, oh my God! Like out of everybody, her and I clicked right away. I mean, her and I are very close to one another from where we live. Very outgoing personality. Like she's just so filled with energy. Like you're gonna you're gonna need pills, like energy pills, just to keep up with her. Like she's just somebody who could definitely brighten up your day. You know, she's always trying to like be positive, have fun, go to the gym. You know, she's a very loving person, and I truthfully I couldn't say nothing bad about Nicole.
Mhm. The pull up by.
Pull up behind the bag is.
Oh man, that was so funny in the first episode when the producers was like, "What did you say?"
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely like one of the most hysterical parts. Like I was laughing. That's Nicole, you know. Like my accent could be as thick, but like over the years I've tried to like pronounce my R's because like we live so, fairly uh in like good distant ratio to one another, so our accents are kind of the same.
Yeah. So moving on to somebody that another one of the girls who I had on last week, Miss Violetta. What was your first impression meeting her?
You know, she seemed like a young, pretty girl. It was hard. Like I couldn't really like get a good first impression over her. I don't know. She seemed like she was kind of stuck up at first. She just seemed like a wild child as well. But you know, I'm the type like when I can't like pick up a reading off someone, like I try not to judge them. You know, but the first things I did get and like from like that I do remember from memory was just like she seemed like she could have been like stuck up and like a wild child. That's pretty much it, you know. And I got to really learn who she was.
I can see that. I can definitely see that from watching the first episode. I remember one of her friends actually said some stuff that she gets crazy, drinks a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah.
definitely. So you know, like that's the only thing I could really pick up off her, especially when you're meeting so many new people at once. You're just trying to take it all in and trying to like meet everybody. So it's definitely difficult.
Hmm. And then the next one, I'm still trying to figure this one out, Bruno. I think she's going to be great for the show. She's definitely got one of the most interesting personalities I've ever seen on this show. What was your first impression meeting Madison?
Madison, she seemed like the flirt, outgoing, very bubbly, a little bit ditzy. You know, you could see right away. But she just seemed like, the flower child, just friendly. She was probably the most difficult to understand and get a level of understanding with. But, you could just see she's just a very friendly, bubbly person. That's just who she is. That's pretty much all I thought about her. Difficult to read,
Mhm.
but just very friendly.
You're. I mean, I know this is. I know the show's edited and everything, but 2 episodes in, I want to I like everybody, but Madison's like the one that I'm like, oh, we need to learn more about her. We need to see what really what really makes her tick and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far into the episode you'd start getting a better understanding of her, but she was definitely very hard to pick up, and that's something I struggled with Madison myself. I'm not saying I liked her or disliked her. It's just she was just very hard to understand because she would like throw you off with facial expressions when she was feeling a certain type of mood. So like, I just couldn't understand logically what set her or made her ways or her motives, what was behind them. So
Yeah,
it was just but she's a very friendly, sweet girl. Like that's just who she is, truly.
yeah. When I had Violetta on, I was expecting like how they got into it the very first episode, and that's what I'll ask you next. I was expecting her to be like, oh, I don't really get Madison. Madison and I aren't cool, but she was actually I guess they're actually friends now, which is cool to hear.
Well, the thing is with like I don't know about the other roommates. I don't know. Like I'm not saying we're trying to hide anything or not. Like if asked a certain question, like me in particular, I'll speak on my emotions or behavior at a certain time, like what was shown. I'm not gonna say whether I'm friends with the person or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's people could kind of pick up on things, but my decisions don't differ on how I am with the person now. Like for example, I'm not saying this is exactly what it is. Like Nicole. I was best friends with Nicole and say her and I weren't friends now, I'm not gonna say any different than her of how I felt prior to living in the house. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely. So last but certainly not least, we've seen you around this one a lot, and she's definitely starting to turn into one of my favorites on the show. First impression of Sylvia.
Very pretty girl, very dynamic, big smile. That was the thing that
Love the smile.
yeah, that was the thing I was drawn most to her about. Looks wise and probably personality, right from the beginning. If anybody, like even I said on the episode, if anybody was to like hook up or get together, it would probably been her and I. So it's like you can see how that attraction was made and personality. I just felt like there was more to her, and obviously you see that with the episodes coming out, and it's just a very tough situation, especially like me going into this. I know like a big rule is like you shouldn't hook up with a roommate or you shouldn't fall for one because it becomes very difficult. And the thing is, when it's there, it's easy. It's you're comfortable with it because it's like you're living with it. So that's a big no-no in my book.
Yeah, you've probably known from watching past seasons that when you hook up with a roommate, it normally you can't bring people back, and that's probably what the issue that you brought someone back as I saw in the next preview for the next episode, but it's a sticky situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is too is like you could have a mutual understanding. Like if I was like, hey, let's just hook up, are you fine with that? Even if like I've learned in life, even if a girl's fine with that, someone always ends up catching feelings. Like there's no such thing. I think friends with benefits. Like there always becomes an attraction. People get emotionally attached, and like I know better. I know that better than anybody. You know what I mean? So it's like, despite how it looks, I'm not like a really like a hookup type of guy. I've always been a relationship type of guy. I look like the player in the Playboy on the episodes, but it's just how it's appearing. But whatever, I'll own up to all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing I want to know, I talked about this last week with Violetta. The first night at the bar, um, we heard that Violetta used some certain amount of money, and Sylvia used a lot of money. They didn't tell us how much you guys paid, though. Did you guys pay anything for that bar tab?
Yeah, see, I read some stuff. Like people think the guys didn't pay or I didn't. Like I was willing to chip in a lot. Like I know I put in over like 150, 160. I drank the least at everybody at the bar, I think. But the thing is, that tab wasn't ran up by us. We found out that people were buying shots for somebody else, or I don't know if it was one of the roommates. I can't remember exactly. But I don't know if people like we were finding out that people were putting stuff on our tab and like saying that it was ours. So that's where the complication came in, and like the bill was way more than 800. I think it was like around $1,000. You know, and we all
That's what he said.
yeah, so it was about $1,000. We all chipped in. It's like I myself, I know Tony as well, Jason. We're not stingy with money. I know they made it look like the guys didn't chip in, but we're far from stingy. You know, all of us pretty much, except like how Madison looked. You know, we weren't stingy with money. Like we understood, like we were there together. All we had was one another. So it's like you chip in, I chip in. It's like we all eat, we all drink. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How did you feel about the way Violetta and Sylvia handled the situation with Madison only putting the $50 in? Do you think do you think they handled it like how do you think they handled it?
I think it was a poor way of dealing with it. I mean, you know, despite what it was, I can understand Violetta and Sylvia being upset about it, and I just think there was a time and a place for that. Especially it being our first night there. You know, I just wanted everybody to get along, everybody to have fun. You know, given especially that it's our first night, like please don't like feed into the drama. Like it's some bullshit. So, I mean, it went down the way it did, and it just sucked. I wish it had turned differently, because you know, there's a time and a place for everything. I feel, especially when you're out in public. Like this is the way you should act. You shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. And I thought it was kind of I thought it was good to see that they actually I don't know if they apologized, but the next day Madison had the money where we didn't see that coming. And it seemed like things were things resolved to the next day.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Like I'm trying to go off of memory, but I know Madison felt bad, but you got to remember too, like when alcohol comes into play, you know, your decisions are altered a little bit. You know, you're not as clear in thought, so you know, it definitely like stirs the pot up and makes things what they're not. You know, people get more escalated with anger, and you know, that's just how it is when alcohol is thrown into the equation.
Mm-hmm. So like I said, guys, you guys can use the hashtag on Twitter. Use hashtag AskBrunoMTV, and I can ask him pretty much anything that we've seen so far and wants to look forward to. So, were you were with the Jason and Nicole the market fiasco, weren't you?
Yeah, I definitely.
Tell me about that. That was pretty hilarious.
Oh my God, I still remember that. That was probably one of the funniest days. Like I still remember. You know, when you just move into a new city, everything's so new to you to take it all in. Even if something's like right around the corner, you know, when you start to learn the city, everything becomes like more easy to get around with. But I remember we just kept asking for directions. It seemed like people were giving us wrong directions, and this mart was literally like across the street, like what you could see, like we could see that the store from our house, and you know, with Nicole's accent, you know, it made it hard to understand. And it was Main Street, and she kept thinking Main. We're looking for Main Street, and like she'd ask some people, like, "Where's Main Street?" Like we walked around, like literally, I think it was 45 minutes. 45 minutes around for like a 2-minute walk, and we were just like, we weren't mad at Nicole. Like it was funny, you know. I mean, that's a really funny situation that took place, but we looked like idiots. But I love that. Like I don't regret it. I think that was one of the funniest times ever.
Yeah. Do you feel like they portrayed that thing pretty accurately?
Oh no, definitely. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, we're new in the city. We have to figure out our own way of getting around and how to get to places. You know, it's basically got to learn how to navigate your way through. It's the real world.
Oh yeah, definitely. So one thing I want to ask. Last episode, we saw you guys go to Wrigleyville, which I'm a big sports fan, and I definitely want to go to Wrigley Field. My parents went up to my brother's Navy graduation a couple years ago, and they went to Wrigley Field. What was it like? Did you guys get to go to any games when you were there, or did you guys just see the outside of it?
We saw that outside of the stadium. Unfortunately, we can't go to games, obviously, because people have to get clearance, and you know, people have to sign waivers if they're shown on TV, which would be way too difficult. Like that's one thing that we know we couldn't have done. We wish we could have, but you know, Wrigleyville is definitely like a very cool like happening spot. It's like this big strip, you know, especially by the stadiums. Nothing but bars on the whole strip. Like it gets so packed out there. Definitely like a cool place to go if you're in your mid-20s, early teens.
Yeah, when my parents were up there, it was 2012. It was after the Cubs won a game, and all the bars were crazy that day.
Yeah, no.
Won a game like freaking April.
Yeah, it gets ridiculously packed. So if you're not looking for the clutter, that's not a place to go. But if you're looking for a good time and craziness, that's definitely a place to go.
Yeah. So, as far as the other places we've seen you gone to, that one bar the first night. Were there a lot of good spots in Chicago that you guys went to that you definitely would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, the roommates went a lot to Vincenzo's, which some of them ended up working there. Beer Bistro, like the whole strip in the West Loop with all those bars. Like Old Fifth was one of my favorite places, like food wise, alcohol wise. Um, let's see, Packing House, we obviously went through a lot because it was across the street. Um, what else? LA Social, that was probably one of our favorite places, and Hubbard Inn, that was probably my most favorite places as well.
Nice.
So those are pretty cool spots. Just chill back, relax.
Hmm. So, going back to some of the cast members, last episode we saw a lot of Madison getting lost, and we saw you and Sylvia kind of get a little bit upset at her. What was going on there? What was she doing that was getting under yours and Sylvia's
Uh,
skin a little bit?
See, the thing is with Madison, like I'm not trying to like badmouth her, but it's like I feel like she's oblivious to what's going on. You know, especially in this world with how men are. Um, I'm very protective, so it's like she's part of my group. I feel like I have to like watch out for her, and her just getting lost and walking around, it becomes like irritating, and because I don't want her to get lost because like we're all liable for one another, and I know some people were like, oh, just let her do the things. Like people were making it look like an empowering thing, which it was not like that at all. I was just trying to be protective of somebody because if something happened to her, I would have felt like it would have been my fault.
Hmm. Yeah. We actually do have a question finally. From Martina at Martina RG wants to know: Did you get homesick, and was it weird not having a phone?
Um, I mean, I miss certain things about home. Having my friends to confide in, my family. Definitely miss my dog probably the most. And not having a cell phone, I actually enjoyed it because you relied on everybody else's conversation skills. To talk with one another. We were our own form of entertainment. So time became more valuable. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we had no technology. We had no cell phones, no TV. We had a computer, but it was very limited internet access. There was like nothing we could really roam. But at the end of the day, we just relied on one another. So it makes you appreciate things a lot more. Like the old modern days without technology.
Yeah. I remember last season they had the smartphones to take pictures and videos and stuff. Did they give you guys that too this season?
Yeah, they would only give us the phones when we go out just to take pictures. That's it. We couldn't
Hmm.
call, we couldn't listen to music, none of that.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that's a cool thing, especially with the whole last year and then now with this new twist, they're able to see you guys and everything. But that was cool. We speaking of the phone, we actually saw the video chat with your mom last episode. Describe how is the relationship with you and your mom? It seems like you two are very close, which is a great thing.
Yeah, my mother's my best friend, honestly. I'm very open with anything, when it comes to women and stuff. Like, there's no shame in my game. I'll joke around with her, like I swear around with her, but I have such a high level of respect for my mother. You know what I mean? And she's the main woman in my life. She's the example of the kind of woman I would want. Old fashioned and classy. So, she's just a very loving person. She's done everything she could for me in life, and I just appreciate her.
Hmm. She gonna come out to Chicago on the show?
I don't know. You're gonna have to watch and see. Maybe she does. Maybe she
Yeah.
doesn't. She definitely made her
Uh,
parents though.
yeah. How do you think Sylvia handled the first time meeting the mom?
I mean, she handled it well. My mom's friendly. Sylvia was friendly. Obviously she's gonna get to meet my roommates beyond like the chat and whatnot.
Uh-huh. Did you guys get to be like was there like any type of limit of how long you guys could video chat with people?
Not at all. I mean, I was probably on the longest on like the phone and like hours. I'm talking about marathons. So like the roommates
Yeah.
would like his Bruno's living space. Like I'd be on the house phone the most, Uvu chat and probably the computer, like reading.
Yeah. So you were the one that the rooms were like, Bruno, get off the phone. There's always
Yeah,
one every season from what I've noticed.
yeah. So I'd always like to be waiting. I mean, I wouldn't be rude when like other people wanted to use the phone. It's all about sharing in there. It's one house phone, two bathrooms. You know what I mean? We have to learn how to get along and share everything.
Uh-huh. So the biggest thing that you guys were talking about this episode, and we already mentioned it earlier, was the twist. I mean, you guys going into the house, were you sure that there was going to be another twist like last season?
I think it was Violetta that started like supposedly hearing rumors, and I'm just like, oh, she's just going off in her own little world, and I wasn't really buying into it. But I'm the type like always expect the unexpected. You know what I mean? So having seen that the Real World 29 explosions, I figured there was gonna be some sort of twist. And prior to coming out, I know my ex-girlfriend, like who I haven't spoken to, like she was trying to get in contact with me, and I don't know if they were just trying to get info out of her about me. So I'm like thinking to myself, they're probably gonna try to get her out here. It's probably gonna be like another ex-girlfriend type of thing. But obviously it was a whole different plot.
Hmm. And I asked you this before we went live, but once the skeletons come in, how is I mean, we see you guys as a group of seven now. How is this gonna change the show? How is this gonna change the show and in a positive or negative light?
Well, I mean, it obviously is going to shift the whole house. The way you're feeling. Like, for example, like one of us who has a skeleton, and it alters your moods. Your mood is definitely going to shift the whole house and how we're feeling as a group. It's somebody else to share space with. If whoever's skeleton shows up, if you're having issues with them, then the roommates are probably having issues with them, and you may not get along with the other people's skeletons. So, that's where the twist really comes in. You know what I mean? Even though the skeleton may come for somebody else, another roommate may not get along with the skeleton coming in as well. Because I know in the clip it shows me like saying to Nicole, I was like, we could kick him out if we want to. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, the group is the group. If we don't like somebody, I feel like we make somebody uncomfortable and have them physically removed.
Yeah, and that's what it seems like. Like when it comes to these twists, when we saw it last season with they call themselves the OGs. Um, um, and we'll probably see this with you guys. If people are uncomfortable, you guys back each other up. And I know Violetta said when the skeletons came in, you found out who really had you back and who really didn't. Is that something you agree with?
No, yeah, definitely. And like I even recall saying it to them. I'm like, yo, regardless how we feel about one another, if we don't want somebody here, this is our house. Like we signed up to be here, basically. So it's like if we want somebody gone, we got to work together. At the end of the day, we're the family. Like we live in that house together. It's all we have is one another to rely on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm frozen. Okay, I'm good. Um,
You froze up.
Okay, I think I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. You froze up a little bit.
Okay. At Critiqued wants to know, how did the personalities clash this season in the house? That's basically building on what the last question I asked.
The personalities clash. I mean, everybody's so different. At the end of the day, most of us do a lot of drinking. It's definitely a very tough situation. You're either gonna hate each other, you're gonna love each other, or I don't think there's a happy medium with it. And people are gonna start to see that within the episodes, a lot. And when you live together, and like think about it, if you're living with somebody you kind of despise or you may not like it's gonna be intense. You know what I mean? And even with me, people are gonna start to see that, and there's gonna be a little difference in me, and I will be judged on it. But I am who I am. I know I was myself the whole time. As we all know, they all say I have this anger problem, blah blah blah. But there's reasons behind my motives. There's reasons why I act a certain way, and at the end of the day, personalities will clash no matter what. Think about living with people you may or may not like. It's not the easiest of situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the last things I want to ask, then I'll ask you some other questions about other things like the spinoff show. But you and Sylvia. So we saw like what set it off with you and Sylvia that made you like, oh, she's kind of not being real with me. Um, I should be doing my own thing.
The thing is, like, I don't like how the episode was shown. Obviously, they're gonna edit bits of it and not show everything.
Yeah.
That episode, like, I still remember. I still remember that day. She was just being off. Like, I don't know if people really recognized it and seeing things for what they were. Like, she wasn't like paying attention to me. Like, obviously, we were feeling one another, and people are like saying I'm in the wrong, but it's like she was over there like talking up a good one with Tony, which is fine. And but like she was just being off with me. I think I had spoken to a girl earlier that day, and she had spoken to somebody else. So I was like, screw it, we're doing our own thing, and I could tell like there was. Uh, like the whole energies had shifted. I could see there was a difference in her, and that's why like you could see she's just looking to the left, sitting at the table. Like we're not paying attention to one another. So I'm like, this is corny. You know what I mean? If we're acting like this, we're not dating. You know what's the point? And the other girl I had met in the bar, I actually met 2 times earlier that day. You know what I mean? And like she completely captivated me. So it wasn't like people think it was just a random hookup or like I just randomly approached this girl. There was more to it. You know what I mean? And I seen that some people were bashing the girl that I was talking to and met like because obviously I know Sylvia has a fan base, people favor her, and you know if people are mad at me, they should be upset with me. You know, like that's a logical thinking person. Like don't go bash somebody who has nothing to do with anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They didn't sign up. They didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, I know exactly. You know what I mean? And you know that's the thing. I'm a single guy. You know, regardless of what people think or say. You know, Sylvia's a single girl. I'm a single guy. We can't really blame one another for talking to other people. And you know, she did her own thing. I was doing my own thing. That's just how I look at it. You're
Mm-hmm. Not really sure. Uh-oh. Can you hear me, Bruno? Frozen, bud. I don't know what happened. Um, Try Xing and then clicking the link again. Maybe that will help because I can't. All I'm seeing is a frozen screen. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. As far as Google Hangout goes, I haven't had that many problems when it comes to comparing that with a Spreecast. Um, Spreecast gave me so much. I mean, I love Spreecast to death. Don't get me wrong, but Spreecast gave me so much issues where there were sometimes I couldn't hear the guests, sometimes my internet connection was crappy. It was just all over the place. But this one, I've only had issues several times. So um, how do you get that? I have no idea who that was. I don't know how they got this link. Bruno, can you hear me? Try Xing out the link and then clicking back in. Apologize for this, guys. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, he is frozen. About to send you a DM right now. So as far as stuff goes on next week, I'm thinking about doing some type of year-end show. I don't know what I'm gonna try to get like a couple guests come on, not at the same time, but like at other times. We'll get Bruno back in a sec. But next week for sure, I don't know what day of the week, I will be having Jasmine from the original season of Real World Cancun and 3-4 time guests from my interviews on the challenge. She'll be coming on with me as well as Ace Nichols, YouTube recapper from the challenges. We're gonna figure something out. We're gonna preview the challenge Battle Access 2. Definitely want to get Bruno's thoughts on the challenge and if he plans on doing one, which more so than not, from what I realized from doing all these interviews, when I asked them, "Will you do a challenge?" I've only had one person tell me straight up no. That was Ariel from last season. More so than not, people say yes. But it's based on the theme, if you call it or not. You back, Bruno?
Yeah, was that me?
Yeah, you were frozen. You were frozen for like a sec.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. So, so yeah, we were talking about that girl that you met. So you met her a couple times, and obviously they wouldn't show that because we didn't know.
Yeah, I met her. That was the third time I ran into her, so you know, 3 times the charm.
Uh-huh.
I ran her twice. Ran into her twice earlier that day, and I believe that was the 6th day we were there.
Mm-hmm. So, as far as how they're editing it, is they have you and a. I mean, you just told me that you and Sylvia came up to agreement, or you told her that I'm gonna do my own thing, you can do your own thing, but we haven't seen that. Is there something that we're gonna see where
Well,
you'll be like have a mutual understanding, be like, oh, we like hanging out with each other, but we're just gonna do our own thing?
well, I mean, you'll see through the more through the episodes how our mine and Sylvia's relationship develops. It's not like we were like, hey, you're gonna do your thing, I'm gonna do my own thing. And that's kind of probably how I took it as. I mean, you know, I just felt like when somebody acts a certain way, like I'm not gonna bother with them, and like that's what you see in the episode. It looks like I was like, fuck Sylvia, and then I was like, let me go to this girl. That's not even what it looked like. Would I probably do that? Yeah, I'd probably do that, being the guy I am. But you know, when I'm single, I'm single. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm not entitled to anybody, and nobody can really judge me on that. But it's like when I'm in a relationship, you know, I'm the diehard relationship guy. Like, you know, I'm all for that one person when I'm with one girl. So, you know, but when I'm single, do I live it up? Hell yeah, I do. I have every right to.
Absolutely, and it's definitely like everybody tells me when I told you this is the 4th season I've been doing these. It's a once in a lifetime experience. You have to live it up, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, being on the show, like, I was no different than what I am back home. People, like, assume because there's a camera on, like, let me act a certain way. Like, people gonna see me for what I am. Like, if I don't want to go out, I didn't go out. Like, I didn't get shit-faced all the time. Like, you know, MTV doesn't provide you with alcohol despite what people think. We buy our own stuff. You know, I was just myself. The only difference is I live with 6 other people that I didn't know, and I have cameras on my face. Apart from that, like, I was myself the entire time, and I see comments that people write, and like on certain sites, like people could tell that I'm being me. Like, if you watch my whole tape, that's me. That's who I am, and I even remember saying in the household, you know, there was like an argument, whatever, like it may show or not, but like I was like, despite how I'm portrayed, people are gonna watch this like back home, like, yeah, that's Bruno. That's the Bruno we know. You know, my friends and family. You know, so I have no issues at the end of the day. People are gonna have their opinions. People will be biased, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine. Like, I knew what I signed up for, and I'm just gonna ride with it.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, next step for you if you want to keep the reality shows going is the challenge, and crazy that the challenge is actually going to be right after you guys in 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
do you plan on watching this Battle of the Exes too?
No, I definitely want to watch it because, like, you know, especially with this whole MTV family now, like, I'm making some friends in the MTV world and, you know, from other reality shows. So it's like, you know, you definitely want to watch it when you're, like, friends with people or family. You know what I mean? So I've always liked the challenges, too. Like, you know, CT was always my favorite. You know what I mean? Plus, he's not far from where I am. And
Everybody's told me that, Bruno. Like I've talked with Challenge as well as Are You the One, and everybody's saying they love CT.
That really, because a lot of people like I feel like think he's a dick. You know, whether he is or not, I just think he's my favorite dude. Like I just think he's like straight to the point. He's ready to roll heads off, and you know, I just like his energy.
Yeah. Have any of the alumni reached out to you?
I've talked to a few, like I don't know if I guess if they want to be announced, but I've talked to a few, mostly ladies.
Uh, uh, I've probably spoken with a bunch of them. I think my buddy Dave met you a couple weeks ago in New York with Jay Dario
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Already the One.
party.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, Jay's a good guy. He was one of my favorites to talk to last season.
Oh,
And
yeah, Jay's cool. Like you know, when I met him, he was like, "Oh, welcome to family." You know, he's very welcoming and cool.
yeah. So that basic you basically answered my next question. Will you be on the will you ever do a challenge if they call you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm all about putting my body to the test. You know, I've done like a lot of physical type of things. I mean, the way I've worked out, like the most recent years, is more like fitness. You know, it's not like a CrossFit type of thing. It's more for building size and physique. But it's like I know with the challenges, you got to be more versatile in your style of training. You know, like it's almost like a CrossFit type of thing. You know, I'm definitely down to do it. You know, put my body to the limits and see where I could go and do with it. You know, if asked.
I think you'll definitely be asked. Definitely. Real world. When I see people that I interviewed on the original Real World season make their debuts, it's definitely it, I interviewed them in their debut. So,
Kind of,
oh wow, what is this camera doing?
yeah, you froze up a little bit.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Nah, I can hear you perfectly. You're just frozen.
Yeah, I'm looking. I was I was looking at myself and it was doing like I don't know what's going on. What I was saying was I like seeing I've been doing these for 4 seasons. That first season was St. Thomas. I love seeing the people that are even from the real world. And once you get called for a challenge, because I have a feeling you will, you'll definitely be one of the first ones that get or reach out to talking about
Yeah,
the
no,
challenge. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I'll be down to talk to you again, man, anytime.
yeah. We'll definitely talk later this season as well because we definitely have once the skeletons come in, we'll definitely have a lot to talk about. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Especially if I'm thinking where the episodes are going, because I mean, there's only been 2 episodes and they've been crazy already. Like, you know, and I remember even speaking with the roommates. I remember the first week we were there, and in another interview they asked me this, and I said the same thing because it's true. Like I remember us saying all to one another, I was like, they could shut the show down right after 1 week because I feel like we had enough drama, fights, sex, romance in 1 week. Like shits and giggles. Like it was a crazy week the first week. Trust me.
Yeah. It's only been 3 days show wise, right?
I don't know if I could talk about it exactly,
Yeah.
but it's like 5, 6.
Yeah.
You
Because I
gotta
think
remember, the
I
record is 24/7.
yeah. I think I remember last episode ending. I want to say it was 11 or 10 days till the first skeleton arrived with the whole countdown thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, and then we'll wrap this up. Besides yourself, because I know it's going to be your skeleton was definitely talked about a lot on press releases on different websites, and I read up on your skeleton with your brother. Besides yourself, who's give me a skeleton or two that we should be looking forward to when they arrive.
Um, Definitely the X's. Probably the X the most. That's definitely one to be looking forward to, as with how everything stirred up the house. And then I would say, I don't know if the other one was really like a skeleton. I don't know. It's just something that took place with someone's sibling. We'll just leave it at that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. From what we've seen so far from all the skeletons, it seems like they're gonna once they get there. Especially, I really like Tony's one, the whole Stalker X.
I don't know if I can really comment on that, but it's like
Yeah.
she wasn't a
Well,
stalker.
well, they talked about her a little bit in the first episode. They showed like a little bit of interview thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely interesting because you know it's X's. It's not one X.
Yeah. It should be cool to see. So I definitely want to thank you, Bruno, for coming on. It's definitely been a lot of fun. Where could people find you on social media?
At Bruno Real World on Twitter, and then MTV Bruno on Instagram, and that's about it.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. I definitely glad to get you on, and we'll definitely touch base once Brian comes in.
Definitely, man. It's been my pleasure. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks so much, guys, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time.